Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Cincinnati Bengals at the Buffalo Bills in their Week 6 matchup, played October 18th, 2015. We're going to go over all the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. So starting off in the first quarter, with about 9 minutes still left in the first, E.J. Manuel took it in from 2 yards out. Carpenter hit the extra point, and it was 7-0 Buffalo over Cincinnati. Then with about 3.5 minutes left still in the first, Andy Dalton hit Jeremy Hill, and Jeremy Hill got into the end zone for a 13-yard touchdown. Nugent added the extra point, and this game was tied at 7. So that did it for the first quarter. And in the second quarter, a little less than 5 minutes in, with a little over 10 minutes left before halftime, Giovanni Bernard put it in the end zone from 17 yards out. So 17-yard touchdown run for Bernard. The extra point by Nugent was good, and it was 14-7 as the Bengals took the lead for the first time in this game. So then with about 7 minutes left before halftime, Nugent would extend the lead to 10 with a 47-yard field goal that made it 17-7 Bengals over the Bills. But then just before halftime, with just less than a half a minute left before intermission, E.J. Manuel hit Sammy Watkins for a 22-yard touchdown pass that made it a 3-point game at 17-14 as the Bengals would go into the locker rooms with a lead by a field goal. This was a close game at halftime. Watkins would end up leaving the game due to injury. And in the third quarter, about 4 minutes in, Andy Dalton hit Marvin Jones for a 10-yard touchdown. Nugent hit the extra point and was back to a 10-point lead for the Bengals with the score 24-14. Then with less than 2 minutes still left in the third, Andy Dalton hits Tyler Eifert. An amazing precision pass, a 4-yard touchdown with the extra point by Nugent. It was 31-14 as the Bengals were now up by 17. Then in the fourth quarter, with a little less than 11 minutes left to play in the game, Nugent hit a 39-yard field goal, and the Bengals were up by 20. So the Bengals up 34-14, but then the Bills responded as LaShawn McCoy had a 4-yard touchdown run. Carpenter hit the extra point, and it was now 34-21 with about 7 minutes left to play. The Bengals then would eat up some clock, although they would punt the ball back to the Bills. But the Bills would get to about midfield, and then they turn the ball over on downs. And then the Bengals would line up in the victory formation and run out the clock as they hold on to win this one 34-21. And they remain undefeated at 6-0, 3-0 on the road. The Bills are now 3-3, 1-3 at home. So the Bills continue to have struggles at home. Of course, they had a lot of injury issues in this game. Of course, Manuel starting at quarterback for the injured Tyrod Taylor, as well as they've also have some injuries on defense as well. But for the Bengals, Andy Dalton, 22 for 33, 243 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, as he played a really mistake-free game for Cincinnati, as they do get a very impressive road win against a tough Buffalo team despite their injuries, the injuries of Buffalo. E.J. Manuel, 28 for 42, 263 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He also had a rushing touchdown, giving him 2 total touchdowns in the game, as he had 6 carries for 22 yards. Jeremy Hill had 16 carries for 56 yards for the Bengals. He also had 1 reception for 13 yards and a touchdown, giving him 69 total yards in the game. Giovanni Bernard, 8 carries for 50 yards and a touchdown. He also had a reception for 23 yards, giving him 73 total yards in the game. Marvin Jones had 9 receptions for 95 yards, including a touchdown. A.J. Green, 4 receptions for 36 yards. Tyler Eifert, 4 receptions for 30 yards and a touchdown. For Buffalo, LaShawn McCoy, Shady, had 17 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown. He also had 2 receptions for 4 yards, giving him 94 total yards in the game. And E.J. Manuel, I said he had 22 rushing yards off of 6 carries, including a touchdown. He also had the 1 touchdown passing Craig had 5 receptions for 54 yards, and Sammy Watkins 4 receptions for 48 yards and a touchdown. Robert Woods 4 receptions for 47 yards. For the kickers, Carpenter 3 for 3 on the extra points. Nugent 2 for 2 on the field goals, 4 for 4 on the extra points, as both kickers were perfect in the game. And on defense, Nelson had 8 tackles to lead the game for the Bengals. Carlos Dunlap had 1.5 sacks. Thompson had a half sack. And then the team stats, 22 first downs for the Bills, 21 first downs for the Bengals. On third down, the Bengals converted 7 of 12 third down opportunities, 58% conversion rate. The Bills just 5 of 13, converting just 38%. They went for it twice on fourth down, converting once for a 50% conversion rate on fourth downs. Total net yards, 368 for Buffalo, 355 for Cincinnati. On the ground, both teams netted 112 in their rushing attacks. Through the air, the Bills netted 256. Manuel was sacked twice, losing 7 yards. And for Cincinnati, they netted 243 through the air. And the penalties, 8 penalties for Buffalo, as they were penalized 93 yards. Just 3 penalties for Cincinnati, penalized only 20 yards. So that was a big difference in this game, as the Bills kept shooting themselves in the foot, making costly mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, and the Bengals were incredibly disciplined, as they were not making those errors in the form of penalties. And in the red zone, both teams are actually perfect. 4 for 4 for Cincinnati, 2 for 2 for Buffalo. Cincinnati just got there more as they kept moving the ball. So they have an all-around attack. And it was actually even on the time of possession. You rarely see that, 30 minutes each. The Bengals, they were pretty much in control of this game. You know, of course, the Bills did jump out to the early lead, but then Cincinnati, once they took the lead, they just rode it out from then on out. They didn't trail after the second quarter. Really, after they tied the game, they never trailed again in the first. And so, you know, they were up by 20 points before Buffalo made it kind of interesting there at the end, but there was no chance that they were going to come back on the Bengals, especially the way the Bengals have been playing defense. And of course, Cincinnati continues to have a very balanced attack, as they do a really good job of mixing up the runs with the passes and their play action. And they've got talent at all positions. And they don't even need necessarily their big star to do it in A.J. Green, just 36 yards. But they still get the road win. And even Dalton, 243, it's not like he threw for 300 yards, but he had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So they were making the most of their opportunities and getting a lot of good production. Also Bernard as well, he kind of emphasized that with just 8 carries, but putting up 50 yards. So he's having a really good day. And all around, I thought the Bengals had a very complete team effort in this game, winning this one on the road. A very impressive win against a tough Buffalo team that was, battered coming into this game. They were without their quarterback. They were without some other players as well. But that is the nature of the game. That's football. That's the thing you got to deal with. And so there's no excuses. And the Bengals, like I said, it's a very impressive win to remain undefeated and to win in a tough environment like Buffalo. They get really loud there. So let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend, and enjoy all the sports.